Thank you. God bless you, everyone here and on the broadcast. Peace in a storm. Yogananda talks about seeing worlds colliding, exploding, galaxies, creating and being destroyed. Yet, he says the yogi has to maintain peace. To find that place of power within is through the practice of meditation. The mind will race. It will run away like a wild horse. Thoughts scattering, running, confusion. Do not believe those thoughts. Do not listen to those thoughts. Know that you are an eternal being, a powerful spiritual force here on earth. The angels know your name. They see you clearly, like a lighthouse beaming that bright beam across the dark storm over the ocean. In the stillness, in the darkness, there is your true nature of peace, of power, of absolute God control and mastery over all time and space, all heaven. You can download it at any time. You can emanate it when that remembrance comes to you. You are the master of all your life's circumstances. You are the daughter of God. You are the son of God. You have thousands, if not billions, of angels waiting for you to ask, to clear the way, to remove any projections of thoughts, feelings, vibrations of any kind. You can burn them away with the flame of your God presence. In this meditation, we will become the flame. And not only for our own problems, collectively, together, we'll do it for each other. And from there, we will expand it out to a 333-mile radius, and then around the world. The shift is happening. The old ways do not want to go away. The old patterns and records are energized by these fears, by these energies of unpeace. And once we stop feeding them, they vanish like the mist in the sun. Let's start our meditation and go into that joy. Leslie, do you mind lighting the candle? Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, flame of the eternal God presence in one and all, we are that flame. We know when things arise in our lives, they have arisen so that we can remove it from the world. Wherever there is pain and suffering, wherever there is distress, we, your children, your sons and daughters, work with you, O beloved masters, saints, angels, cosmic beings. Use our causal bodies this day for the greatest good, for the highest blessing, for the mightiest graces to our families, to our spiritual families, for all light workers around the world, and heal those also who have not aligned themselves with the light. Come, O Holy Spirit. Come, O living presence of God. Come, O Sana Kumara, Lord Jesus, beloved Moses. Place your staff in the very heart and core of wherever there is darkness, fear, pain and suffering, and blaze out the light of 10,000 suns and fill this planet with your divine joy. We see it so. We speak it into time and space, into this now moment. Thank you, Lisa. So at some point during this meditation, let us collectively visualize the flame of God within the center of this room. We ask you, O Masters, beloved Saint Germain, beloved El Morya, beloved Divine Mother, Divine Mothers, come and energize this flame for the planet Earth, for each one of us. May we see, hear, and feel the reality of God's love. coming back. This next part of the meditation is that we draw a line of light from our own God presence and our causal bodies of light, the treasures stored up in heaven. And we see each other fully empowered we see the God Self, the Ascended Master within each and every one of us. As we project ourselves beyond this time into a dimension where we are already ascended, we are already in charge of a galaxy, as a co-creator with Father, Mother, God. And we take that totality and we bring it into this moment. And we anchor it in our body, minds, and souls in this here and now. And all problems vanish. All that is not real disappears in the light of your ascended God consciousness. I see each of you brighter than the sun, blazing eternally, infinite joy, divine peace, and it is that peace that you emanate that feeds all God's creation, that gives hope to all God's children. That gives strength to all who, under the weight of their own karma, pray for help. And let's bring this in, and in this room, and collectively see each other and hold that perfect vision, the immaculate vision for each other as whole. As God sees them, perfect. balanced. And as we pray for each other, as we hold this vision for each other, we have established a spiritual bond that will go beyond this life. As we co-create together through multi-universes and dimensions and planes of existence, heaven worlds, this divine memory will always be there. And for those of you online and on the broadcast, we see you also. And we send through our higher consciousness a touch of golden light, a beam of our God presence. We ask all the angels and archangels, all the saints in heaven, all the masters, in the universal brotherhood and sisterhood of light, to come in this co-creation, in this mastermind alliance, maximize the light for the greatest good, for the greatest blessing, plus grace. To each person on planet Earth. And it is so. how we are absorbing and regrounding ourselves, adjusting to these new bodies composed of pure light. I'll just speak a couple words. Temple of Clarity, for those of you online, is here in Vista, California, near San Diego. We are part of the Heart Center movement, which is a movement of light workers. There's no joining or membership. It's just light workers coming together in celebration of working in the light, of emanating in the light, of worshiping the Divine Mother and the Divine Father, beloved Alpha. In his little known in modern history self, as the male has been run by the macho man, the antithesis of alpha, the ego, the cardinal mind, the monkey mind. Alpha, as Yeshua saw him and loved him, pure spirit beyond time and space. The loving Father, the supporting Father. Not those fathers who have children and then leave them later. He's always there for his sons and daughters. And for the sons of Alpha, the highest example of the male energy. I think as we grow in our spiritual understanding and our soul's progress towards perfection, men begin to emanate naturally the alpha frequencies. The energy of power, of creation, the energy of pure knowingness. And women also emanating the highest frequencies of the Divine Mother, the purest love, the most holy frequencies of divinity. And together there is this heaven created of these merging of these divine Alpha and Omega. So as light workers, we bathe ourselves in these divine frequencies. We merge ourselves in the inner fire of all that is less than those frequencies and energies. I like the concept of fire, and I see myself surrounded and immersed in a flame. And I know there are, beyond this flame, there is just pure light when it's finished its work. God as fire has been known in every religion. Moses saw God as the burning bush. And all the rays are fire. But in its purest form, there is, to describe it, once the fire of God has, as we come out, there is pure, brilliant light. And that's one of my coping skills whenever the mind or the world is bombarding me with energy that from the mass consciousness, from the unconsciousness of mankind, is to sit in the fire of peace, the fire of love, the fire of God consciousness, the fire of Alpha, and the fire of Omega. We also know there are many fires, and each one has its own purpose. The ascension fire, which is a white, opalescent color, which has the eternal elixir within it. And then there's the fire of enlightenment, the golden fire that we see with Kuan Yin above the archway here. She is in the golden flame of enlightenment. Many saints have the fire within their heart burning. And that is the fire of the God presence within, is the spark of infinity within each of us that we can tap into at any time we choose. And that fire dissolves away all the unconsciousness, all the mass consciousness of humanity, all the bad vibes. And then if our mind is kind of racing, we can move the fire into our minds. And you can energize that crown chakra by just touching your heart chakra, igniting the flame, then touching the crown chakra. And that flame magically leaps to your crown chakra. Push down very hard and then leave it there. And the flame stays. If you're in a place where there's a lot of bad vibes, say there's a meeting at a bar or something and there's yelling and fighting and discord going around. How do you maintain peace in a situation like that? You touch your heart. You energize your God flame. Touch your crown chakra. And then instantly, you are the only source of peace for all those people in the room. The only person who's clear in that place. The only person who's not fearful. And people will stop and all of them will turn and say, what has happened here? God reality has now stepped into Maya, and the light is recognized. They can sense it. And all of a sudden, from these bad topics, the conversations will change to something. Is God real? Where does light come from? And you have started a whole spiral of light that was not there before. There's a song called "The Bridge Over Troubled Waters." A beautiful poem put to music. And that's what light workers do. We create that bridge between the unconscious to God reality. Not only for ourselves, which we practice daily, but for others, for our children, for our grandchildren, for people that God sends to us on a daily basis, for help, for guidance. We create that bridge. There are so many people who are so lost in Maya, in the illusion of the Hollywood created reality of darkness that is, they don't believe that in God, they don't believe in love, they don't believe in integrity, they don't believe in angels. They believe in car races, bank robberies, murders, they've been programmed. They are in a matrix of sorts. So we create a bridge of light where they can actually see in their higher vehicles that there is something. Spirit is real. The soul exists. The Divine Mother is walking the earth. So we can be that bridge for people. And we choose that. That's what light workers do. That's what the Heart Center movement is about. So collectively in this room there is a tremendous amount of wisdom. And for those people online, you know, before the meditation started, we were discussing the eclipses, the full moon on Friday the 13th that's coming up. We were discussing the hiccups that we have in our lives, you know, individually. And, you know, what do we do in those situations? And I know we all have a unique, valuable perspective. We all see it with a, you know, some of us from tremendous amount of spiritual experience. And so I'd like to throw out the question, and pass the mic around. What do we do? What do we do when times get rough as a light worker? When we are not feeling aligned with our source? You know, how do we get that back? And I'm going to fire up the mic and I'm going to give it to you, Leslie.
I think to answer your question, for me, it's a matter of going back to basics, like coming here to meditate, to get that sort of recharge. Because in my mind, I kind of viewed it, and if you think of us as batteries, sometimes we're fully juiced, sometimes it's depleted for whatever reason, whether you're in that chaotic bar that you go to. Where people are fighting, I don't know those kind of bars, but Dad's listening. But so for me, it's just really getting into that, finding those streams of energetic charges, and this is one of those places for me. I've got other sort of tools that I can go to for that, but it is sort of a reset. You have to reset, kind of like a computer too, rebooting.
Rebooting, yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that term. I do that too. The whole idea of rebooting. Go ahead and give it to Carlos, because he. It'll come back to you, Carlos. It'll come back to you because I know you have something to say about it.
Well, when I'm not feeling the connection, which is very rarely, I sit in meditation and then I reconnect. And I hear my guides and I feel them. And they come close. They know when I'm in trouble, you know, when I'm feeling unconnected to them. And they usually come in pretty close. And will surround me and send me with their love and energy. And that's how I survive.
I see that also when we are not at our best. I think the angels do come closer, especially when you ask them. And so we can always remember to ask for angelic help, for our spirit guides to come. And our spirit animal, you know, how's that said? Is it we have a spirit animal guide?
Yes.
Many, more than one, some of us. Mm-hmm. And they have magical powers, superpowers, so we can remember that and give them jobs to do. We were reading a book by Lorna Byrne, Angels in My Hair. Many of you know that book. She says there are millions and millions of unemployed angels out there, because the only way they get to come through time and space is we have to give them our permission. So nobody, because they're trapped, people are trapped in the matrix, they don't ask the angels for help anymore like they used to. So let's work with our angels and our guides.
I actually say, where are you guys? And I'll hear, right here. We're always right here. So it makes me feel better.
Yeah.
There's a few different things that I do. I don't usually feel disconnected from source, but sometimes I feel disconnected from purpose. But I always ask for guidance. One of I think the strongest things that I do is to go into nature, because nature is pure consciousness. So you get out of the collective consciousness where spirit can speak to you more clearly. And when you're listening, it's always around you, whether it's the trees or the angels or the gods or the goddesses or the rocks or the ocean or whatever. It's always there speaking to you. And I think also as human beings, one of the most powerful things we can do is to ask why we're experiencing what we're experiencing, what the lesson is, so that we can move out of it. What's the purpose of it? Because there's always a purpose for some of the struggles that we're going through. If we can get that peace, then we get to move through it. If not, we get to repeat it over and over again. So I think meditation, going somewhere where it feels sacred, asking what your lesson is, what the purpose is, how do you move through it, ask for help. Those are all my tools usually.
Thank you. I love that, because one of the Divine Mother, Gaia's purposes, the earth herself, is like she takes our burdens and she changes it into joy somehow. And if you swim in the ocean, you know how much ecstatic joy is in the water there. And car batteries, believe it or not, are very similar to the ocean. There's so much going on there energetically. The earth, the water with the salt and the minerals in it, creates a magnetic energy of joy. So powerful. You swim in the ocean, all your worries are over. All they're gone. You're swimming in the ocean, you're singing, you're laughing, and there's joy. And the same thing in nature happens. The trees, if you hug a tree, like certain trees, like the cedar trees and pine trees with needles, they have an energy field around them that you can give, and Carlos can speak to this. He's one of my best examples of that. The tree will take physical problems and give you joy. So there are little keys there, in coping and stuff. And so you said nature walks, asking about the purpose of what are we supposed to learn from this, right? Is another way. That's really helpful too.
And I was going to mention the trees, because I have a special connection with trees as well. I don't know if everybody feels that way. I mean, people say you're a tree hugger or whatever, but they literally can send you messages. They, will speak to you, but also they'll pull that energy right out of you, like suck it down in their roots and send it down into the earth and bring renewed energy in. For me, everybody has to.
No, I think that's true for all of us. That's very true. Light workers, they know us, and they are eager to help us, like angels. These trees are living, conscious beings, and there are divine angel deva spirits that live inside of these trees. Some of these trees, especially in Yosemite, are thousands of years old. They are so wise. They have seen it all. They have heard it all. So I was going to tell a story. In Peru, what they recommend that you do is when you go for a walk in nature, is you pick up a rock and you hold the rock and you tell the rock, what's the problem. And then at the end of the trail, you leave the rock there. And the problem's gone. So, go ahead, Lisa.
I love that, Dennis. I truly do. Great inspiration. My tradition is the science of the spoken word. I was trained by that beloved lady up there, Elizabeth Clare Prophet, for 12 years. And let's face it, there are times when you just cannot see the bottom. And, however, they just come at times. And so calling, using your chakras, physically using your throat chakra, calling to the Ascended Masters, who are our elder brothers and sisters. They are closer than you think. Jesus is very accessible. Saint Germain is very accessible. Kuthumi, beloved Saint Francis, is very accessible, and they each have qualities and cares, and many of them are sponsoring us, as we speak, and they're ready to help, along with the angels, and just asking for the help is the big thing. And when you're in the dark night of the soul, call it whatever you want, let's face it, we require some help. So that's my input.
Well, I love what you said about the science of the spoken word. And it goes beyond just affirmations. It goes beyond mantras. But doing these rhythmic prayers over and over again and going into your God presence, that way it energizes all heaven, all the saints, all the masters, all the armies of heaven into what you're praying about. What's, your concern, what you're going through, either the dark night of the soul or you're praying for somebody else. You are demanding God to take action. You're demanding the angels, commanding the angels to move into the battle. And that is what a perfect example of a light worker, using all the resources of heaven at their disposal. And sometimes it feels like a war. Sometimes it feels like you're in a battle, like Armageddon, like in the book of Revelations. And when times get tough and Maya is throwing all the illusion at you, it's time to go to war. It's time to say, thus Father, and no, thus far and no farther. So the science of spoken word is a very, very valuable tool that we have to use on a daily basis.
Well, that, and I just have to witness to everyone here. I started meditating about 7 years ago, and the tradition of the science of the spoken word was very strong with me, so I continued doing that
Lisa,
as well.
go like this.
I continued doing the prayers and the decrees and the songs, but the meditation, it prepared me for meditation. I maybe wasn't ready to meditate because my mind was moving or whatever, but it took me a number of years to get to the point where I could really meditate and really center and really, feel my heart. Like when you're standing in the Walmart, you may not be prepared to touch your heart and your crown chakra, Maybe Dennis does, I don't know. But, and so that you can feel your heart and see that acetylene light, that great bright light emanating from your heart. It's your God presence. It's in everybody's heart. And not only seeing it in your heart, but seeing it in that person that's giving you a really hard time. That's the tough one. You know, someone's pushing your buttons, and you just got to stand there and stay cool and see them in their perfection and their crystalline aura, and knowing that, you know, they're getting there. I'm getting there. You know, we're all getting there, and it's a process. And loving instead of reacting. So, God bless us all.
My short answer is, it really is all divine all the time. And when there are challenges, the first thing to do is to ask, what is this here to teach me? And therein lies the answer, the healing, the next step, the enlightenment, the resolution of whatever that is.
So it's all divine at all times.
Yes, yes. I've been to the top of the mountain. I've seen the light. It's all divine all the time, whether we believe it as body personalities or not. So, yes, when you go into samadhi or oneness non-duality or self-realization or whatever we want to call it, and you realize that you are God. You are God. So is everyone and everything else. It can't not be divine. It can't not be divine. And so when we have challenges that don't seem in the divine flow, then that's something that our spirit or our higher self or our higher consciousness has created as a learning opportunity. And, you know, so first thing to ask is, what is this here to teach me? And the answer to the healing is in that answer and in that learning of that.
Always remember to ask what's going on, why is it happening?
What is the
lesson.
What is this here to teach me? Because, you know, we're never a victim. Never, ever, ever, ever a victim. That our spirit is created all for our enlightenment. And the way that we move into that, or we grow into that, or we evolve into that, or awaken into that is probably the best answer, is by looking at what is this created for? What is this here to teach me? What haven't I gotten yet? So I was blessed in 2000 to reconnect with the ancient way that the kahuna, which are the priests and priestesses of Hawaii, healed bones and other ailments instantly. And they did it by asking the patient or the client, what lesson have you until now not been ready to learn? Or what is the perceived payoff in having this? So it's perceived because it's really not, it's like a secondary gain. I'll give you an example of that. So when I was in my 30s, I had 2-year-old and newborn twins when I was 33. And I was in overwhelm. My husband at the time was on call 24/7. And it was more than my body could easily cope with. And so I got an ulcer, because that was a really good idea. That really helped. So I'm asking, the universe, well, why would I have this? I mean, what is going on here? And I saw that when I was growing up, how many of you are oldest children? How many of you are the oldest child? Okay, well, when you're the oldest child, you have to be super child. You get to take care of the younger ones, you have to be a little adult, and the only time when you don't have to be super child is when you're sick. When you're sick. So my unconscious goes, oh, we're in overwhelm. I know, what a good idea, we'll get sick. Because that will fix everything, because it fixed it when we were young. Oh no. When you're 33, you're just sick, and you have to still take care of a 2-year-old and newborn twins, and the husband is still on call 24/7. Okay? That doesn't stop the body from trying that. All right, so that's a perceived payoff. That's the secondary gain. So we need to decide that we're going to let go of the secondary gain, or learn the lesson that we have until now been unable to learn, and literally send it out to the sun, get rid of it, and tell it it served its purpose and it must leave now. Speaking of verbalizing things out loud, and then allow that divine energy to awaken within you. So, I've seen it heal, brought 2 people back from the almost dead. Literally, one was given last rites and 2 to 3 hours to live. The other one was declared brain dead, and both of them came back to life after these energies. And broken arm that was so critically broken it was going to need surgery was healed in 13 to 14 hours. We don't know when within that, but that's when the 2 x-rays were taken 13 to 14 hours apart, and one showed that was such a severe break it was going to require surgery. The other one showed no broken bone or at all. So yeah, it's very powerful stuff. But the key is releasing the perceived payoff, being willing to give up the perceived payoff, or to learn the lesson that until now we've been unable to learn. Because that's why it was created, and that's what we need to release in order to be able to have the healing occur.
Thank you. I love that. For those of us who are in the process of the awakening, self-realization, but I understand how important it is to see every opportunity as a reflection of the universe pushing us towards this ultimate God realization. And once we're in flow with that, we see every opportunity, every situation like the Buddha. And we know it is a test of Maya, and it is there for us to awaken. That is the door. The event that is right in front of our eyes is the door that will take us to the other side into the God realization. It could be something as, a sprained ankle.
Just for example.
For example, which, if can be turned and taken into its, purpose, is a door in itself to a higher understanding. Now, Carlos, I hope you can tell the story about the tree. Do you mind, or you not? You want? Okay. You mind come getting it? My favorite tree story.
Which one, Dennis? The one in Yosemite?
Yeah, when we were camping.
The grizzly giant.
Hold it.
The grizzly giant. Well, I think I told that story one day here to you. But anyway, I will tell it again.
For the people online.
Yes, the thing is that we went on a hiking trip with Dennis, Max, and William, but I was sick from here until Yosemite Park. I was really, my stomach was upset, and we have to stop everywhere because of that. I was dehydrated, I was sick, I was weak, you name it. So we arrived at the park, and then Dennis, very intuitively, was guiding us to different trees in the park that he knew before. But anyway, I was so apathic. I was so like, I didn't feel well. I just wanted to go and lie down. Then all of a sudden, then he said, okay, come. And we went with the group to a funny tree that if you see it, you will laugh because it's amazing. It's so old, but it's like it's bald. It's just having a few branches on top of it. And, but it's so funny. It's just when you see him, it's just funny. Everybody was looking at it, observing it, enjoying the scenery. I couldn't even stand. I went to sit down in a bench, observing it from a distance. And then something told me, connect with the tree. Grow roots and go to the tree and marry his roots. But the process didn't stop there. And then the guidance, the voice that was guiding me says, go into the tree and visit all the little branches and leaves up there and ask him, give me your healing energy. And pull yourself again from everywhere in the tree, down, down, down. And I infuse that through my roots into my body, into my system. And in a second, I was healed. Wow. Completely. Because I was afraid not climbing Half Dome with Dennis and the others. Because I was so weak. And then I said, yes, tomorrow we're going. And then I went.
You climbed Half Dome?
Not half, because I was with jogging shoes. They had proper gear to climb because it was so slippery. I went up to the certain point, and then it was enough for me. But and then
You made it to the best part of the hike, though, I think.
well, that was very challenging because I nearly fall down there. But anyway, that was an experience that I never had before. I mean, so when you need the guidance is there. You just have to surrender, not offering any resistance to it. And that, if you call it a lesson, that was for me a lesson in so many processes, or call it if you want, the dark night of the soul, that I get very often. And it's don't offer any resistance to it. That is for me the key. Let them take you where he wants to take you. Don't judge us of light or darkness. No, it is only the divine, as Laurie says, is only a power. We are the ones playing with duality, right and wrong, good or bad, left and right, up and down. You know, just don't offer resistance whatsoever, and let it take you. Go down. Trust, and there, go down. And you will see that is not what we think it is. Parallel to it, I had a dream. And in that dream, I fell into a big, dark pit hole, very high. And when I was falling, I saw rocks. I saw very, rough and ground that I was going to break myself. What happened when I was rolling on the ground down there, it was different than I thought. I fell in such a delicious, like feather-like ground. And all of a sudden, I was dialoguing with myself in the fall. It's not so hard as I thought. Then I land in a huge field like Serengeti Park or something in the savannas. And I was conscious that I was in a completely different scenery than the fall. And I was surrounded by naked men with spears covered with ashes. And I could observe in her eyes the glittering redness of that folk. And from there, it came a man outside the circle. No, it came a man outside the circle, and he came to and touched my face. And in the fall, I got a mask, which was transparent mask, and he fixed it in my face. And when he gave me the hand, he says, "Welcome." And he pulled me up. When I stand up, I woke up. I woke up. My God, what was that? So as you see, the whole journey from falling and dialoguing with myself, that it wasn't so hard as I thought.
Like this, Carlos.
Yes, that wasn't so hard as I thought. Immediately prepared me into a different reality, which is the reality of meeting beings that made me feel something completely different than I thought these people would represent in a waking life. So that is the story about don't offer resistance. All is in divine order. Become aware and feel. When you have to cry, cry. When you have to laugh, laugh. When you are hungry, eat. All that disciplines of you have to fast, you have to, of course, helps. But you have to become aware of your own processes, that is not about the discipline. It's about awakening to that reality we already are, but we think we are not. Thank you.
I just wanted to share this. Witnessing Carlos's healing is like he had wings on his tennis shoes after he got the healing, and he was flying around while the rest of us were walking. Well, thank you everybody on the broadcast. It's we went a little bit over. Carlos, do you mind blowing out the candle and doing the closing prayer for us? My brother. We'll all stand with you. Yeah.
Angels and archangels of the light, thank you for being around us. Thank you for your guidance Thank you for your energy. Bless all thy souls in this circle. And let us spread the light outside of this circle. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Amen. Thank you, everybody. God bless you, and we'll be broadcasting again tomorrow at 7:30. Good night.